I hate the generic Instagram quote that goes something like, don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. That is awful advice. So I'm currently taking a gap year, but all I'm doing is staying at home and reading, writing, making YouTube videos, and going to nail school. Nothing like Instagram worthy or super spectacular. I see people who are taking gap years just like me, living in mansions with their friends and partying and going to visit national parks and seeing like some of the coolest things in the US. And I see people in picture perfect relationships and I'm just like, why can't that be me? So being in my position, it's really easy to feel FOMO. So I just wanted to share how I personally deal with it, other than just crying at home alone in my room at night. So first, let's talk about the highlight reel versus the behind the scenes quote. So there's two reasons I think that this is actually just awful advice. And the first reason is that people just have objectively better lives than you. If we're not supposed to be comparing highlight reels to behind the scenes, well, I also have an Instagram account. I also have a highlight reel. Let's compare my highlight reel to someone else's. And look at that. Their life still looks way better than mine. Maybe you want to try to compare your behind the scenes to somebody else's. But like, if you are not doing super well mentally and you feel like you're doing nothing with your life, believe it or not, there are people out there who have really objectively good lives, that feel good about their lives and that are feeling mentally healthy. People have better lives than you. And I feel like this quote kind of just dismisses that fact. And this leads to the second problem, which is the fact that this quote doesn't target the root issue of FOMO. The feeling I always get from this quote is that the people that you think look really happy online and on social media are actually really miserable. So you shouldn't feel miserable because we're all miserable. But that's horrible advice. It's basically telling you that you should only feel happy if you understand that everyone around you is as unhappy as you are. The root problem is not that we're comparing our behind the scenes to their highlight reel. The root problem is that like we're comparing at all. Comparison is not ever going to give you the type of happiness that you want. It's only going to make you suffer more because there are always going to be people with objectively better lives than you that enjoy their lives a lot more than you enjoy yours. Okay, so now we've arrived at like the root of the problem, which is how do we stop ourselves from comparing ourselves to others? So the first thing to notice is that comparison is a habit of the mind. Like growing up our entire lives, we have been told to compare ourselves to other people. So if we want to let go of this mindset of comparison, we have to literally rewire the way our mind works. So whenever I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see that my friends are hanging out with other people in national parks, they're going to huge mansions to have parties, they're doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I start to feel jealous and I start to feel FOMO, I take a deep breath. And I acknowledge the fact that I'm currently comparing myself to someone else. And I acknowledge the feelings inside of me that make me feel really bad. And then I tell myself, I've got my own responsibilities and my own life to worry about. So what that does is it breaks like the mental loop and the mental habit that we have in our mind of comparing ourselves to others and dwelling on the fact that we don't have what they have. Normally, when we start to feel FOMO and we look at other people's Instagrams or their social media or whatever, we kind of dwell on this feeling of feeling like our lives aren't good enough. We spend so much time just spiraling down and thinking about all the things that our lives could be and all the things that our lives aren't. And that makes us feel off. Don't expect this to work right away because comparing yourself to someone else is probably really deeply ingrained in your mind. And so the first couple times you might try to do this and you might not be able to stop yourself from dwelling on the fact that your life isn't an Instagram highlight reel. But over time, if you continuously do this, you slowly begin to care less about what other people do with their lives, and you kind of just start realizing that you have things that you can do now. We need to replace our mental habit of comparing our lives to other people's with the habit of being present to the moment and realizing that there are things in our own lives that we need to focus on. Hey guys, so this is an important clarification that I kind of wanted to throw in there. It's not so much that there are things in your life that you should focus on. It's more like the things that you are currently doing in your life. Those things, no matter how unassuming they are your life. So you should focus on them. And that distinction may not make sense now, but it will make sense later in the video. So I understand that sounds really cheesy and it's like one of those things that's like, oh, just live in the present and everything will feel better. But that's not really what I'm trying to say. It's not about living in the present. It's about understanding that you can literally only ever live in the present. Like, we all get caught up in the life that we want, in the lives we think that we should have. And I understand this completely. As I'm sitting in my room making this video, I guarantee you there are kids my age that are traveling the country right now, seeing some beautiful things. And I am just sitting in my room staring at my camera. And sometimes when I see those people on Instagram, I tell myself that, man, I should be doing something like that with my gap year. Or man, that's what I really, really want. And yes, maybe those are things that you want in the future, but at the end of the day, like the fact is that your life right now isn't that. You are where you are, and you literally cannot be anywhere else other than where you currently are. While I was editing, something my lang teacher told me junior year like popped back up into my mind. Junior year, like I've said many times before, it was really, really hard for me in terms of school. I just had so much schoolwork and I felt horribly unmotivated. And my lang teacher told me the goal is not to survive, the goal is to live. Like in high school, I always told myself if I can just get through this week, then I'll be happy. If I can get through this month, then I'll be happy. Or when I just finish this school year, then I'll be happy. Like, and now I could be telling myself, you just need to get through nail school and start making money and then you'll be happy. You just need to go start traveling the country and then you'll be happy. You just need to wait until you go to Stanford and then you'll be happy. You just need to get through these days. And this is analogous to FOMO, because when we have FOMO, we're basically saying if we had their lives, we'll be happier. And so right now we kind of just fixate on the fact that we don't have their lives and we wait until we think we finally get their lives to feel happy. We basically tell ourselves we just need to get through these days until we can get a life like theirs and then we'll be happy. And that's my point. These days that you get through aren't just days that you need to get through. These are your life. Your life isn't a highlight reel. Your life is the monotony of day-to-day responsibilities, the day-to-day of just working hard to eventually fulfill your dreams or achieve your goals. And this is basically what I meant when I say you can only live in the present. Because as much fun as it will be to travel one day, as much fun as it will be to achieve your goals and do everything you want in the world, the fact is that right now you're just working day to day to maybe someday get the things that you want. But enjoy these days, because these days are your life. So you should try to enjoy them fully. Learn to appreciate blue skies. Learn to appreciate the changing of the leaves. Learn to just appreciate breathing fresh air. Or learn to just appreciate being able to see your parents or your family every single day. The only way to stop ourselves from comparing ourselves with other people is to understand that every single day that we live, no matter how unassuming or boring it is, that is a day of our lives, and we should strive to live those fully. And that's how you get rid of FOMO. The prime example of this in my life recently has been me going to nail school. For those of you who don't know, I just finished nail school, like to work at a nail salon. It wasn't flashy at all, and I can't even pretend that I loved nail school. I found a lot of it really, really boring. I remember one morning I was walking into school, and I just looked around me, and I realized that if I had told myself a year ago that I would get into Stanford, and then I would take a gap year, and then I would be going to nail school, I'd be like, there's absolutely no way that would ever happen. But it happened. While I was in nail school, even though it wasn't where I really, really wanted to be, or where I felt like the best possible version of my life could be, I understood that it's where my life was currently at. And so I just remember looking around in the parking lot, and I remember looking around in my classroom and realizing I'm only here for 2 months. These 2 months are going to be a very unique time period in my life. No other time in my life am I going to find myself at a nail school or at a cosmetology school surrounded by people who are doing nails or doing cosmetology professionally. And I realized that this wouldn't last forever. And undoubtedly, sometime in the future, I'm gonna look back on my life and just think, wow, do you remember those 2 months that I went to nail school? I woke up every day so early and I drove 30 minutes to go to nail school. That was absolutely insane. And so I kind of just thought about it from that lens as I was living in nail school. I don't know if enjoyable was the right word, but it made nail school a lot more bearable. It made me really at peace with the fact that I was at nail school and I wasn't traveling the country and I wasn't doing anything insane. It made me feel really, really peaceful, and I learned to just enjoy nail school for what it was. So the next time you feel FOMO, take a deep breath and acknowledge the fact that you feel a little jealous, and acknowledge the fact that your life is not the life that it should be, that your life is not the Instagram highlight reel that you want it to be. And then let it go and smile. Because even though it's not the life that you want or the life that you should have, it is the life that you have. And in its own way, that makes it perfect.